It is D-Day in Islamabad today. Pakistan Prime Minister's political future is hanging by a thread. In just 3 hours, the National Assembly is going to reconvene and the members are going to decide what's next for Imran Khan. In a last ditch to turn the tide in his favor, Khan addressed the nation. He looked completely defiant as he reluctantly accepted the Supreme Court's decision.
जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला आया, मायूसी हुई मुझे, लेकिन मैं ये वाज़े कर दूं कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट और पाकिस्तान की अदलिया की मैं इज़्ज़त करता हूं। मैंने एक ही दफ़ा जेल गुजारी है और वो आज़ाद अदलिया की तहरीक के अंदर।
In the past few weeks of political turmoil, Imran Khan's party members have left his side. But what has probably kept him together are his supporters. Hundreds and thousands have gathered on one call. So the Prime Minister used the national address to call on his people to hold protests.
लेकिन मैं अपनी कौम को भी कहता हूं कि अगर आप इस तरह की चीज़ कि एक बाहर से साजिश हो के गवर्नमेंट गिर रही है और वो प्लान करके पूरा एक प्लॉट है जिसके ऊपर मैं अभी बाद में बताता हूं, तो ये आपने अपने आप को बचाना है। जो अपने बच्चों का मुस्तकबिल बचाना चाहता है इस मुल्क में, आप अगर इसके खिलाफ नहीं खड़े होंगे, किसी ने और आके आपको नहीं बचाना। अगर ये डेमोक्रेट्स हैं और इनको वाकई जमहूरियत की फिक्र है तो इलेक्शन अनाउंस करें। आप कह रहे हैं ना कि आप बड़े पॉपुलर हैं, तो आए इलेक्शन अनाउंस करें, मैदान में आ जाए, देखें पब्लिक किसको वोट देती है।
Now, in a speech, he said that the people of Pakistan have to protect against the imported government. This is a direct dig at the Pakistan Muslim League N, which is currently head by Shehbaz Sharif. There was a recurring mention of the conspiracy letter. Imran Khan has alleged that a foreign power is colluding with the opposition to oust him from power. So the Prime Minister slammed the Supreme Court for not taking his claims seriously. In the past, he has hinted that it is Washington, D.C. that is interfering in Pakistan's political and personal matters. The State Department of the United States was quick to react. The US Department said, and I quote, "Let me just say very bluntly, there is absolutely no truth to these allegations. Of course, we continue to follow these developments and we respect and support Pakistan's constitutional process and rule of law. But again, these allegations are absolutely not true." It seems like the more uncertain Khan's political future gets, the more desperate he gets. And desperate times call for desperate measures, which is why he cannot stop praising India. Asked before the no-confidence vote, the Pakistan's Prime Minister lauded India's decision-making. He said that New Delhi should be proud because no superpower can dictate terms to them. Now let's quickly get up to speed with what's going to happen in the Parliament today. At around 10:30 a.m. local time or 11 a.m. India Standard Time, the members of National Assembly will gather. No confidence motion is on agenda number 4. And all experts are pointing towards one outcome. The chances of Imran Khan winning is extremely bleak. Last week, the Deputy Speaker had rejected the no-confidence motion against Imran Khan. On Imran Khan's appeal, the President had dissolved the National Assembly and given away 2 fresh elections. But the political turmoil turned into constitutional crisis when the opposition approached the Supreme Court. All strategies by Imran Khan were washed away. It was a united verdict by the 5-judge bench. 3 ruling came to place. Fresh elections will not happen right now. The National Assembly will be reconvened and the session cannot be prolonged without the conclusion of no confidence vote. Now, to gather more perspective, we are being joined by Lester Munson from Washington, D.C. He's a senior fellow at the National Security Institute. Welcome to our broadcast, sir. Now, my first question to you is that Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan faces growing opposition. But in the past few days, he has been trying to do everything to stay in power. especially when we talk about the infamous conspiracy letter. Now, here I want to bring your expertise. Do you think that Imran Khan is tampering with Pakistan's foreign relations to stay in power?
Well, I have to say I agree with the U.S. State Department that it's inconceivable that the U.S. government is acting directly involved in Pakistan's politics. That is not happening. This would appear to be a very specious charge that is being used by the prime minister for whatever purposes he's trying to achieve. But it seems very clear to me, at least, as someone who is no longer in government, that the U.S. is not playing any kind of role here in the internal machinations of what's going on in Pakistan.
Right. And can you tell us a little, just a quick follow-up to that? I just want to ask, there is some certain aid that comes in not just from United States, but also some of the allies of United States to Pakistan. As we all know, that it's also going through an economic crisis. Do you think that these kind of claims by Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan will have an effect on that?
I suspect they will not have an effect on it. The United States wants to have a stable, predictable relationship with Pakistan. The United States does not want to be involved in domestic politics there. The U.S. does have interests, including security interests in Pakistan and the region, of course. The U.S.-Pakistan relationship, while it has occasionally been difficult, has been fairly consistent over time. The U.S. provides assistance in a variety of sectors. Currently, there's a big food crisis, in part because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, where food exports from Ukraine have greatly diminished. That's going to impact Pakistan. I suspect the U.S. is going to continue to provide assistance as necessary in Pakistan. However, if certain things happen domestically, then certain U.S. laws will be triggered. So I don't want to say that with a blanket statement, but I suspect the relationship will be fairly stable.
We just spoke about the economic crisis that Pakistan is going through amid this political turmoil, now with trade deficit and falling exports. So if there is a change of guard, how will the next government tackle with this crisis?
It's a terrific question. I would expect Pakistan to look to its friends in the international community, perhaps for assistance, perhaps to multilateral institutions for some sort of temporary help to get through the crisis. There's no doubt that there are stresses on the international system right now, so perhaps not all of those needs could be met from an aid perspective, but perhaps fresh voices may have a greater appeal for some of these donor entities.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your inputs. Thanks for joining in. Lester Munson from Washington, D.C.
Thank you.